and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
Good afternoon, Spoony listeners. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro here. Yes, I know I wasn't here yesterday. Yeah, whatever. It was Monday. It was a planning day. We had a board meeting, and I played hooky. Although I didn't have much, not like I went fishing or anything. I just sat around the office, looking at Ron, looking at me, but waiting for me to do something. Anyway, welcome back. Yes, we missed the show yesterday. We had a big day. Lots to talk about. Lots of. Man, there is so much stuff happening here. We have like 16 show hosts now on Spoony. I remember just like September last year, I went live in September. So a little before that, I was doing like one show a week. Doc was maybe doing one show a week. Had a couple other show hosts doing one show a week, 3 or 4, I believe. And now we're up to, I don't know, we have 20 hours of original programming a week, a little more than that, 23, 24. 25. No, we're up to almost 30 hours a week. Man, we're growing. Thanks to guys like Mark Conway, Andy M. Hoff, Randy White, Dario O'Connor. Who else do we have in the lineup? Some of the original show hosts, like Gwen Rich. We really appreciate you with the Rich Solution. Thank you for your dedication and perseverance. Not to mention Tonya King of Food Talk for Health. And some of the new people as well. We have, Trey's Chat On Live on Fridays. And on Thursdays, we have the Gut Check Project. Dr. Ken Brown, the developer of Atrantil. There's a lot of good uses for this, a lot of really great phytonutrients. Not just anti-aging properties, just promoting overall gut health, but if you want to check it out, go to, lovemytummy.com/Spoony. And I believe there's a 10% discount with that. That's Atrantil or lovemytummy.com. All right, so today, there's a lot to get to, but primarily because we have a special guest coming on the air in a few minutes. And we've been talking a lot about the WFC, the World Food Championships, founded by Mike McLeod. And one of the category winners is going to be on here in a few minutes. This is Nick Rickman. Nick's got a really interesting story. He won the chef category, by the way, so he is the current reigning world champion, the WFC chef champion, and they're all going to be heading off to another event we'll talk about in a few minutes in May down in New Orleans. But his story is very interesting. He'd been competing for a while, had some significant victories in places, but the fact that he even made it to the WFC this last, September, October? I think it was in October, late October. The fact that he even made it to the competition down in Orange Beach, Alabama, is a story in itself. But we'll let him tell it a little more in his words. In the meantime, it is. I'll get to this in a minute. I'm going to actually post a great recipe for an raisin oatmeal cookie. And the reason I'm going to do that is because today is actually National Oatmeal Cookie Day and National Raisin Day. Now, you'd think that they could just combine those two together and make it National Oatmeal Raisin Cookie Day, but apparently that was too obvious, perhaps. Maybe. Now, I like to, whenever I make anything, whether it's anything baked, I like it's called creaming the sugar and the butter together. For me, it gives a different texture to almost any baked product. Well, some of them you can't do this because you don't add butter, or you have the butter and the sugar and they're added at different times. But in this case, it doesn't say it in the recipe, but I almost always use that method. Again, that's creaming the butter and the sugar together, put them in the bowl, a mixing bowl, or like a countertop mixer, KitchenAid, so to speak. If you have another brand, I'm sorry. But creaming, whether it's white or brown sugar, it doesn't matter. I do the same thing either way. Anyway, let's see if he's on the line. I think he's going to call in at 10 after. In other food news, there's some weird stuff going on out there. Here's one: how to make a crispy fish sandwich at home. Now, there's all sorts of ways to bread any product you're going to fry. I've actually developed a few breadings, and most people use panko, breadcrumbs, so on and so forth. I actually used one time. I had a client in Ecuador. The client had tilapia farms and shrimp farms. One of the problems is they also had these arboreal rice farms. Not problems, but one of the challenges they faced. Well, arboreal rice is not a huge staple in Ecuador, although many people eat risotto. They had this backlog. They had, I think, about 300 tons. 300 tons? Yeah, that's about right. 300 tons of product on hand that they couldn't sell. It was a little bit older. It wasn't moldy. It had stayed dry, but it had gotten really dry. And, if the humidity isn't right, it's very hard to store rice. So they didn't know what to do with it. And they had about 70 hectares, which is a lot of land, just take my word for it, of tilapia farms. And they had about double that of shrimp farms. The farm-raised product they had was actually really good, but they were selling it as a commodity. And to understand that market, when you sell it as a commodity, it's just the whole product sold as is, and the markup's very low. There's very little labor involved, except the packaging and the actual raising of the whether it's the fish or the shrimp. But the issue is, again, your margin's very small. So we thought, how can we take this product and make a value-added product from it? So how can we increase the value by adding as few ingredients as possible and then sell it for a greater markup and possibly deliver directly to retail instead of to other wholesale brokers? So I developed a couple products. And what I did is I took the arboreal rice and actually ground it and used it as the breading. Now, I'd never done this before, but I'd seen rice. I've used rice flour before as a dredge before you go into tempura batter or other things. So I thought it might work. But I'll get back to that later because it's a really unique study in how you can take something that seems to be a virtual loss or a zero value product and actually increase the value of that and something else you might be selling at wholesale or as a commodity and make some real money. So we are going to answer the phone here. Let's see. This should be Nick Rickman. Are you there?
Yeah, Patrick, I'm here.
Hey, Chef. How you doing, man?
Great. How's everything your way?
It's going well. It's been a long time since we've spoken, at least 20 minutes or so.
Definitely. You missed me already, though, right?
Well, hey, look, so I'm fairly new to the WFC fam. I'm not part of the family, but I'm hoping to ingratiate myself with the participants in the WFC, and it's been so far a really fun time getting to know the I want to say that the competitors, but the characters that participate in the WFC. And shout out to everyone. Mike McLeod, you built a great and budding enterprise. And I know he's got some things to announce we won't talk about. It's going bigger and bolder, but let's get to you, my friend, because you are the current world chef champion. The current dude. Is that like lightweight, heavyweight, or is that just all weight classes combined?
Oh man, it really hasn't. I know it's hard to believe, but I really, haven't absorbed it all. It's almost kind of like you said. You wake up, it's like a new gift. To be able to hold such a prestigious title, and what Mike has built at the World Food Championship. I mean, there's no other vehicle out there like it to achieve a true food champion with the systems in place that he has and the qualifying events that's inclusive to everyone, not only professional chefs, but to home cooks, hobbyists. It includes everybody. So this is really, it's really the pinnacle award in food sport. And then to win the category of the chef category, which is predominantly all professionals, people that, either do this for a living, have done it for a living, or have trained to do this for a living, to win that particular category is incredible. And there's professionals in every category out there, but you don't have to be a professional to be in the other categories, and that's the beautiful thing about the World Food Championship. It's inclusive to everyone, and anybody that thinks they've got a shot, you can qualify in your region and go up against the best without any other requirements. Just go sign up and compete, and if you do well, you'll be afforded that opportunity.
Yeah, and so you there are 3 words that you said describe, that's your secret sauce, your secret and a recipe to success in the WFC, right? And it was
right. There's actually 4, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, definitely.
Yeah, and
sure.
it's no secret. Look, perseverance. I mean, you have to practice, and when we talked about this earlier, actually. I want to talk about this in a second about how, a lot of the chefs say they start the next day. I want to talk to you about that because it's a little different when, and I don't remember if the other chefs or their other winners were all necessarily professional chefs, but, you had a lot of challenges just getting to the event. All right, let's step back a minute. I mean, this is, and this wasn't just like you just went and competed this one time. You've been at the WFC for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, and you've been in the top 3 times before, correct? I believe.
Right, including this last year. Yeah, between I compete with my wife, and between us, we got 4 medals. We both finished in the top 3. I don't know of any other husband and wife combination team that has done that, and in 3 different categories as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're proud of that, but success is it's rented. It's you never own it. So you have to forget about that with each competition and just stay humble and focused and and press on and that's kind of what we have in front of us now. It's like a clean slate.
There's a really
good next challenge.
There's a gentleman who's a speaker. He's got a lot of YouTube videos. Anyway, he talks about we all deserve a paper cup or a styrofoam cup. That's the name of the speech. And he talks about one year he's the keynote speaker for this event. They pick him up in a limo and they whisk him off to the hotel. And he's got attendants all over. And they bring him in, they brief him, and they bring him up to the stage. And and he's got this really nice water pitcher. And so the next year or 2 years later, he's there just as a presenter, but not the speaker, the main speaker. And so they're just like, he has to catch a taxi to the airport, and he has to pay for his own hotel. And then he gets there, and they're like, hey, he's like, can I get some coffee? Like, yeah, the cups are over there. There's a stack of styrofoam cups and a cold pot of coffee. But he's like, success, that kind of fame is fleeting, right? Well, but you know what? It doesn't seem to be for you. So I think we could be off base here because you already got 3 top 3 finishes in 3 different categories. You've got a big win. You're going to final table in New Orleans, which is the 17th to the 9th of May, which we're going to talk about extensively here in a minute. So I'm not sure. You might be reigning champion for who knows how long. You never know.
Well, one incredible thing about the World Food Championship is, we got the final table, ahead of us, but each of the 10 champions, I mean, to win a world championship in any category with the process that is in place at the World Food Championship, it's not something that, regardless of what happens at the final table, these other 9 champions, nobody's going to be really, I've heard people say flash in the pan. Nobody is a flash in the pan at this point. I mean, we all want the ultimate $100,000 prize, but everybody is a world champion in their own right, and that really doesn't have an expiration date on it, and that's something that's worth more than $10,000 or any kind of monetary value. I mean, it's just something that doesn't expire and go away, and it's it's an incredible thing, and I know the other 9 champions feel the same way, and it all comes down to marketing yourself. And, some people do this for hobbies and stuff like that, and they win, and you never hear a lot out of them from that point on. But being in the business, being in the restaurant business for sure, I mean, it's something that, I can, I live in a small town of, I don't know, probably 20,000 people in this county that I live in. It's a small, rural area in northwest Florida. We're about an hour north of Panama City Beach. And, we get a lot of support here. But the thing about, winning the title of World Chef Champion, it doesn't matter what town we go to, we're still going to hold that title. That title is tangible and valid no matter where we're at. So it all comes down to how you market yourself and take advantage of it. It's one thing to win it, but it's what you do with it after that is way more valuable than any prize that you could win, especially if this is your passion and it's what you do for a living.
Well, and above and beyond that, if you happen to be the winner of Final Table this year, we are not going to tell you. You may have already known if you're listening. You listen to the show often, or you've heard Andy Emhoff's, Pardon My Fork, and some of his interviews with the champions in the other categories, or if you've been listening to Derry O'Connor on Try This Dish Radio, that's now right here on Spoony Radio. Now, you may already know, but we'll talk about it, and we're going to get to it in a second. But if you win this year at Final Table, I mean, you may have eternal bragging rights, because the prize, you could keep. Well, don't keep them. If I won, I'd choose it would be the money or this other prize. It'd be I'll be honest with you, I'd have to seriously consider taking the other prize if I weren't hurting so bad for money right now. But fortunately,
definitely, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
for sure. Definitely does.
Well, we got to
keep. That's remarkable.
We got to keep the listener excited. We don't let it out of the bag yet, so we got to.
We're not going to let it all out of the bag because what we discussed earlier with my preparation and stuff. I'm going to touch on my strategy for that, where I, because of that, I have to sort of change my strategy for preparing for the final round.
Well, let me ask you: Do you have a signature style of cooking, Nick?
I like to take ingredients. I like to use fresh. You hear this and it just sounds, it sounds generic because so many people use the farm to table phrase. But I really like to use fresh ingredients, organic when I can, and the whole organic movement thing, there's a lot of pros and cons to that. There's certain things that you really should focus on sourcing organic, and then there's other things that really, it's not really that big of a liability to not have organics for other things, because there's not a lot of pesticides and fertilizers and stuff like that go into producing certain, vegetables and things like that. So, and at the end of the day, I really like to take a lot of different. I sort of cook fusion style. That was the name of my catering business before I opened my restaurant, was Fusion Craze, where you're taking different cultures of cuisine and sort of merging them together and meshing them together into a meaningful vehicle there. And that's what I kind of like to do. I grew up, idolizing, the French chefs, the Michelin chefs, such as Albert Roux and Michel Roux. I used to love listening to those guys and telling the story. And then the simplicity is what they're all about, is simplicity. Simplicity, let the ingredients shine. And when you look at French cuisine, I would like to say, yeah, I'm more French in my background as far as that goes. That's another thing that's, predominantly used a lot when you ask chefs. They're all French, French inspired.
Yeah.
But really, when you look at the French cuisine, it's really no different than the cuisine in the South, where I'm from, in the southeastern part of the United States, where there's a lot of butter that comes into play. There's a lot of creams and things like that, and eggs, and it's all about the farm type fare. That's really truly, in the breads, that's really truly, the nucleus of what French cuisine is all about. So naturally I gravitate towards those type of things. But I also, I'm Greek. I have Greek in my blood, Italian. So that kind of, I have strong influences in those things, and my passion for Italian food, Greek food, and of course I actually do love Cajun food. That is in my arsenal of things to cook, but it's really, it's not just really one thing. And I do like just good old home cooked Southern food as well, but doing it at an elevated level, not just the canned food typical type of stuff that you see, stuff more, associated with fresh farm to table type stuff, So
no,
really a mixture, a combination of things.
Yeah. So no ruin a jar or marinara a la paper carton.
No, definitely no Alfredo in the jar, nothing like that. And it's not to say that I'm just, totally against. I don't do a lot of canned stuff. Probably the only canned products that I use would be something like a San Marzan tomato or something like that we would use.
Well,
for, some of our pasta sauces and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so here's one of the keys. Even in Italy, all the Italians I speak to, they don't typically use a fresh tomato to make a
right. And it's just like pasta as well. A lot of people think you're not really making true, authentic Italian cuisine if you're not hand making the pasta. But that's not true. That's true if you're dealing with raviolis, lasagna, things like that. But when you're dealing with smaller pasta, most Italians like the al dente, and you can only truly get that real gummy texture from a dry pasta.
That's absolutely right.
It's going to outperform fresh pasta 9 times out of 10. But that's kind of one of those things that people don't really understand about Italian cuisine. It's not to say that you can't make a good fresh 10 millimeter pasta fresh, but it's not going to have the al dente that a dry will have.
Absolutely.
It's not going to have that.
So, and not just because they're a sponsor of WCW, but I actually use red and gold tomatoes. That's typically what I gravitate towards. They're readily available, and I can find them pretty much, every broadline vendor has them. That or tomato strips, but we'll go into those. That's one of my secret ingredients for my tomato sauce. We'll talk about that another time off the air. But
okay. I'd love to hear that.
Well, so I was really fortunate to work at a place called Fred's Hickory Inn up in Bentonville, Arkansas, and it started out as a smokehouse. Then, and he just sold smoked meat. I mean, he just had this little smokehouse, and he sold it by the pound. And he did smoked sirloin, like the whole sirloin, top butt or the whole sirloin butt. Man, it was beautiful. It's amazing cut of meat to smoke, especially since it's so lean. You wouldn't imagine that, but. Then he turned into a steakhouse, but his wife was very, very, very Italian. And they took her nona's, her grandmother's recipes, and they still serve them to this day. And her tomato sauce has kind of been, I've changed it a little bit to my taste, but it's pretty much the same thing. Their lasagna is amazing. And I cooked Italian before, but it was all kind of a la minute cooking. There was a great place called Tony Rigatoni's up in Morrison and Golden, Colorado. And it was right down that place was right down the street from the Coors Brewery. So come 5:10, here come everybody out of the brewery right to the pizza parlor to get penne pasta with whatever, I don't know. We made up some dishes that were basically Alfredo with avocado. I forgot what we called it, but it was pretty good. And we made a cacciatore in the pan. I'm like, okay, cacciatore in the pan, you really can't do that, but we did it. I don't know how we did it. We made it to order. It wasn't bad. So, Hey, we got about a minute in this segment. You are going to hang over with me for the next through the break, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, because I really want to talk about a couple of things. How you got started. I know there's a story behind a family member. It's actually quite interesting. And then, some of the challenges perhaps you might have faced. There was a little bit of rain down that way last year that might have gotten in the way, but yeah, exactly. Well, hey, I'm gonna put you on hold.
Just a little,
just a little. That's right. Well, hey, the music's gonna start here in a couple seconds. Again, if you're just joining us, I have Chef Nick Rickman on the phone. He's the current reigning world food champion chef champion. He won the chef category last year. I believe it was October, November in Orange Beach, Alabama. Anyway, he's headed down to the final table event for the WFC to... Oh, there are 10 people competing for one big grand prize. Actually, it's two big grand prizes, one of which is $100,000. The other one of which we'll tell you here in a minute.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBiz.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Dr. Ken Brown here, host of Gut Check Project with my co-host Eric Rieger. I've seen in my practice that Atrantil is a whole lot more than just a bloating product.
Yes, it does a whole lot more than just fix bloating because of the polyphenols that you find in Atrantil.
What are some of the things that these polyphenols do, Eric?
These polyphenols can help you have more energy, and polyphenols are great for athletes.
It sounds like it's going to help a whole lot more people than just bloating. Go to lovemytummy.com/Spoony.
Well, you probably all watching me type away here on the screen. I was actually trying to get another post scheduled in the meantime before we went back live, but we're back. And Rick, you still on the phone with us? Or Nick? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. So ironically, I read the National Day calendar every day. They're always it's like my birthday typically ends up being National Underdog Day, and I hope it's the dog underdog from the cartoon and not National Underdog. The underdog. Long shot kind of a thing. But today, there's two different things today. It's National Oatmeal Cookie Day and it's National Raisin Day. Can't they just put them together and say it's National Oatmeal Raisin Cookie Day? I mean, I know it's kind of.
Like that can be
I know it's kind of
too hard to put together. And it happens to be my birthday today.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, man. You know what? I'm going to take the recipe I'm going to put up here. I'm going to modify a little bit. We're going to call it Chef Nick's National Oatmeal Cookie Day cookie in celebration of your championship win here just last September.
Fuse them together, man. It's fuse. Nothing wrong with fusion. I love putting things together, and there's no reason to not do that.
Hey, so as long as I don't put any wasabi in there, I think we're okay, right?
Right, definitely. No wasabi and no sesame oil.
Well, you say fusion. So I specialize in Japanese food. I was fortunate enough to live in Japan for many years and did some training there and came back and over years, hopefully perfected the craft. At least I hope people enjoyed the food that I've made them over the years. But it's not that I don't stray from that, but I tend to stick to the basics of that cuisine until I met Nobu. And Nobu, he taught me how to, he was incredible. He took classic French cooking techniques, Peruvian flavored, flavorings and seasonings and techniques as well, and then used Japanese center of the plate items, the proteins and typical accompaniments, and fused that all together in one cuisine that I thought was fascinating. And anyway,
that is definitely a hard one to do. Most people, when they think of Asian cooking, they think of these people, they have knife skills, but it's just the whole encompassing thing around this, the whole technique that they use. It's really a hard one to emulate and step out on that ledge and really nail, because there's so many components and variables that go into producing some of the things that they do, and it's really truly a phenomenal and intriguing type of food to really try to pull off. It's really a hard one to do it well, and you have to have the right stuff to do it with. So that's something that is really hats off to you for having that mastered, for sure, because it's definitely not an easy.
I got lucky, man. I you know what, I have to say, I've been blessed. Things have over the years, well, I say they've fallen into place. It's more like, you spend so much time working at one trade and meeting the right people, or just meeting people in general. You ever had that where it just kind of clicks, like everything kind of all of a sudden the dominoes start falling for you, instead of you having to push them down with a bulldozer that you don't own. You have to walk down 15 miles to borrow and bring back. And
the biggest thing is being able to recognize when those opportunities are present, and being able to seize the moment and take advantage of that. That's sometimes, a lot of times people are presented with those type of opportunities, but they don't engage themselves and try to take advantage of something like that may never come around again. So yeah, I've definitely been blessed as well to and I've seen some. We've actually had some neighbors when I lived in Central Florida that were Asians, and back when Disney World was first getting started, they were doing the different themes of the food from around the world, and I actually lived next door to some Asian people. I'm not sure I can't remember if they were from Japan, or I know some of them were from China, but I got to eat as a boy. This was back in the time when kids went out and actually played and rode bicycles and got outside and actually absorbed the sunlight, before the days of electronic devices and dark rooms and air conditioning inside the house. But I would actually go over, and my parents never even knew. They still don't know about it to this day, I'm sure. I used to go spend time with those people, and I was able to actually eat some of the food that they really eat. As Americans, we think of Chinese food or Asian food as being, General Tso's chicken and the beef and broccoli, or a lot of those dishes were created here in the United States, and they, actually those people don't even eat that type of food. But I was able to eat a lot of the broths and the fish stocks and some of the stuff that they made in incredible flavors that I haven't tasted since then. But I haven't forgotten it. You know what I mean? It kind of resonated with me and stuck with me, and I've never been able. I can almost take a certain smell of somebody cooking something sometimes, and I'll pick up on little notes of that and say, that reminds me of some of that stuff that I was eating. I really don't even know what the name of it was, but it was a lot of, I know they were real big on fish stocks and stuff like that, and different types of broths and stuff, and then a lot of bean curds and stuff like that. Just stuff that you really wouldn't associate with that type of cuisine.
Well, and what year? I mean, how long ago was that?
Oh man,
you don't have to tell your age.
It was at least 35 years ago. About 35 years ago, Patrick.
Yeah. No, I get it. Sorry, I was asking somebody a question. All right, so no, I had a second video pop up live on Spoony's Facebook page. I'm like, what's going on there? How'd that happen? Okay, anyway.
I get it. You're multitasking, man.
Nah, it wasn't even me. But what's interesting though is at that point, as a young man, your palate was experienced something that you had never had before, right? Not just unique flavors,
definitely.
Yeah, but the whole setting. I remember the first time I looked into it.
And just being able to get into that culture, because they were all they were all renting like one condo together, and they all you went inside and there was no furniture, no bedding. They were they had like one little table that they would sit around. They were very happy sitting on the floor. They they made their beds in pallets on the floor. That was compared to where maybe they come from, that was actually luxury to them, and they were very happy and comfortable, and it was just a real profound, experience being able to partake in that. And at a young age, I knew that it was something special, and I made it a point that every time I seen them or go by there, I'd go speak to them and hoping they would, it was around the time that it was supper time, and they would invite me in to try something and stuff like that. So I kind of looked forward to that, and it was just a neat thing, to be able to do that. But with that being said, some of the stuff that they were able to do, I knew that you just can't easily emulate that. You have to have a true mentor or something like that. You're not going to get on YouTube. YouTube is a big thing now where people jump on YouTube where they want to try to figure something out. They jump on there. And there's, a lot of times there's a lot of useful information, but there's a lot of times there's that 10% that you're not being told about, or it's not revealing on those videos and stuff. And a lot of times that's, that small things turn into big things. And if you don't have everything right, then, you're going to wonder why, I watched this video, they're happy with it. Why is this not turning out for me? And
well, that's a good point. Is it because as a chef, I'll share any recipe exactly as written. I don't leave out any ingredients. I don't hide any techniques. I don't leave out steps or methods or timing. Nothing. Temperatures are exact. And people are like, it didn't turn out the same. Well, I've cooked the dish 4,000 times or 25,000 times in some cases. And so, there's a feeling that goes with it. They say it takes 10,000 hours to perfect any trade. And cooking, I think it probably takes more than that, because that's 10,000 hours is, if the average worker works 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week, that's 2,000 hours, 2 weeks off. And that's, that's 5 years is what it would take. It really, in my opinion, takes much longer than that. Now, you can master an area of cuisine in a shorter amount of time, at least in preparation and, and cooking and technique, perhaps. But you never fully understand. We kind of suffered a loss, last year before, and we lost a very boisterous, red-haired man who was a chef on television. And what I really loved about his show originally, it was just him in a kitchen. Like, he had one stovetop, one range. It was just him and two people sitting at the counter right next to him, and he served them. But what was the most amazing thing? Okay, it's Mario Batali, so, it's not like anybody didn't know that. And when I say lost, no, he's not dead. He's just not on the air anymore. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. So, but what was great about that is I don't think I've ever seen anyone that had a deeper understanding and knowledge of what the ingredients were and where they came from and the history of them than he had. And to me, that was fascinating.
He always had a story to tell. He was very cerebral when it comes to cooking.
Yeah, and so that's I think one of the things nowadays is, you're right. You can go to YouTube, you can learn how to make anything, but do you still have a connection? Do you have an understanding of where it came from, why people do it this way? Why did they actually cook that? But we digress. We're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but that's okay. Here's one of the
nothing wrong with rabbit holes, man.
Well,
sometimes it's best to get to the bigger story. And
hey, I got another hour.
So it's kind of like
I got another hour and 20 minutes, man.
Going back to some of the guys who I had a lot of admiration for and still do. I remember hearing Michelle Roux say one time, that regardless of training or technique, I can show you technique, but you're either born with a palate or you're not. Mm-hmm. And that's something that cannot be taught. You're either born with that or not. And I truly, I really, I agree with that statement, a lot, So I think a lot of things can be taught if you have the passion and you have the desire and, the determination to want to seek that out. I think that you can make that happen somewhat, but then you're kind of learning somebody else's, originality. You're learning their take on something. You're putting all those hours in to learn that instead of, instead of it coming naturally, So I think that, that there, culinary school is great for anybody, but at the end of the day, you can train people up. And like you said, I can show somebody a technique 1,000 times. Somebody can work with me all day long and still miss their mark on certain things that I do, where other things they will get it and absorb that a lot quicker. But certain other things, just little nuances and little things that you just, you go by feel, and you can't really teach to somebody. That it just comes from experience, and it comes from the natural ability to be able to do that and discern what you need to do.
Well, it's
things being measurements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't mean it. It's kind of like you cook by feeling to some extent. Like I can tell you, reduce this sauce for this many seconds, at this heat. It's not always an exact science. You have to know when it's done and when it's not, when it needs a bit more time, or hey, wait, it's going to be done early. And that timing. So
exactly.
kitchen timing is one of the most difficult things for any young cook, let alone chef, to learn. And when you're in a kitchen, I don't know about you, I grew up in old school kitchens where we didn't have any written tickets, man. They just it was a call line, right? So they just called orders to you, and fire this, fire that. First they give you the order, you just got to log that in your head and get everything set and ready to go, and then they say fire, which means go ahead and launch that, get it hot and start cooking, whatever it was. And then they'd say pick up. So, you may have 15, 16 plates in your mind at any given time that you're keeping track of, trying to remember what they go with on the other stations, and then plating them while you're, in addition to plating those, you're also putting new dishes on your station and starting that cooking process. And the finishing process. I mean, it's this nonstop cycle of constant thinking. There's a deadline every 15 seconds. I don't think people really understand, unless you've worked in the industry. It's a lot of pressure. Right. It's fun, but it's a lot of pressure.
That's gladiator school is what that is, man. I mean, you can do that. You can do it anywhere. And that's, and we do not quite like that. We do the handwritten tickets. And so we sort of do it. That's the next step.
That's still old school. That's still old school, though.
Still a tough system.
Handwritten tickets. That's still old school. Yeah. So you have So let's talk about your restaurant.
Yeah, we do that, and you do have to have the cadence there to know that, hey, this takes 30 minutes to cook. This only takes 20 minutes to cook. Well, 20 minutes into the cook, you need to be firing this. That way, everything comes together fresh. And at the same time, you have to have that cadence there to be in the presence of awareness, to be able to orchestrate that, for things to work out like they're supposed to,
Absolutely.
So that is a tough one. Instead of having a POS that's going to spit these little tickets out incrementally, where you can do all these things with a POS, where you can set them, and you can get in there and work that. Those things are incredible. And for a large restaurant that's putting out a lot of volume, that's got, a 200 or 300 seat capacity. Yeah, that's where you've got 10 chefs in the back. Our restaurant is not huge like that. I think my max capacity, I could actually hold over 100 in here, but actually I've got it seated for about 75. And,
so that's you.
And to me,
hey, chef, we got about 12 minutes left. Can you stay over one more segment after this, or do you have to get back on the line?
Sure, I'm good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So you just brought up something interesting, because most restaurants are trying to cram more seats in, serve more food, turn the tables faster, yet you chose to reduce the number of seats. And I'm guessing, that allows for a lot more room. We allow for 10 square feet. Folks, 10 square feet per guest is not a lot. That's a 3x3 square. That's a little wider than the chair you're going to sit on. And so... it's got to make service a lot easier. Now you have a lot lighter, larger and more wide, a lot wider passes for the servers to go through.
Oh yeah, I've got, between our tables, I've got a good 6 feet, 8 feet, between table to table. So people's not on top of each other.
Man, so the typical formula is like 3.5 feet with the chairs pushed in. That's why you're always back to back in the dining room when you pull your chair out.
People's not banging into each other. Well, I have chairs and booths. So when people are getting out of the chairs, they're not having to bang into each other and, stuff like that. And in doing this type of food that we do, I mean, really to have more than that. I mean, you really can't put out a top quality meal and serve in massive quantities like that. And I just refuse to even do that. I mean, it's not about revenue. I mean, to run a business, you have to be more than just a good cook. That's why most, restaurants fail. And I know that's a whole nother topic that I'm kind of spinning over towards, and we can back up and come back to that. But, you have to look at all aspects of the business there and what works for your concept. And for me, I'm not looking to just, try to get as many customers in here and cram pack them and try to make as much I can nightly. I want to retain customers. I want them to have a memorable experience when they come here. We've got our accomplishments, and when people show up, I mean, they're, when you won the titles that we have won, when people show up, I mean, they're looking for you to make magic happen, and that's it's a tough thing to do. I mean, because and thank goodness. I mean, we've been able to make our base very happy with what we're putting out. We've retained a lot of repeat customers. We really haven't done a lot of marketing for our restaurant since we come back from winning last title. So we've got some things, including the final table coming up, but we've got a really good core support of retention of repeat customers, and that's what counts. Is not how many people come to see you because you're the world champion. It's how many people want to come back once they come and try you. Everybody is going to want to come try you when you hold a title like that. They're going to want to come try, but it's the people that return that really tells you where you stand at. So.
Well, you're only as good as your last meal, so they say. But let's talk about the restaurant. So Salt Block Restaurant, right? And y'all are down in Marianna, Florida. And
we're in Marianna.
Okay, so it's a
historic downtown Marianna, Florida.
Okay, now you had just opened last year in August, and just getting your feet under you, and something happened about a month later, which was again, got a little rain down there or something like that. I don't remember, but something.
Yeah, we opened up in I think it was June or July.
Okay.
Somewhere around there, but yeah, it was in the middle of the summertime, and we were just getting going a couple months into our operations and everything, and we were making plans to go back to the World Food Championships, and then comes Hurricane Michael, came through, and I think most people associate that with Panama City Beach, and although we're an hour north of Panama City Beach, the storm, I will say this, Interstate 10, we're in the I-10 corridor, and we are about 2 miles north of I-10. And right as we lost power, I was in contact with my daughter on the phone from Pensacola. So after I lost TV power and stuff like that with the Weather Channel, the storm, as it approached I-10, which is 2 miles south of us, the storm had gained strength to 155 miles an hour.
Man,
that was inland. So, and it like I said, I've been a Floridian, my pretty much the most of my life. I've lived in Florida for over 30 years, and I've been through countless storms. I lived in Central Florida, down on the peninsula, where it's just a bullseye for tropical weather down there, and we've always, when storms come, we know we're going to be out of power for a couple of hours. You load the coolers up with a couple of days worth of drinks and food and snacks, and you just get ready for it. It's inevitable, but you pretty much, unless a tornado or something spins off of it, you're probably going to be all right. But where this thing was totally different. This was, as soon as it moved in and we lost power, man, I experienced something that I had never, a tremendous amount of fear that I've never experienced before, and it was basically the magnitude of a tornado that was about 30 miles wide, 35 miles wide, is pretty much what came through here. And I mean, it changed the landscape as we know it. You know, any big tree that had any significant size to it, unless it was protected by a building or something like that, we lost those. And it came through and done a lot of damage. We were without power for about 3 weeks, if you can fathom that. No running water, no power.
Well, actually,
stuff like that.
Yeah. So, after, so living in Houston for the last last year up here in Dallas-Fort Worth area, but for 18 years, let's see, I went through Rita, Katrina, Ike, the tax day floods. My house flooded 2018 or 2017. Yeah, 2017, the house flooded. Yeah, I understand. I know exactly how you feel now. Fortunately, I was not right. I was far enough inland, 50 miles from the coast. But, you get 40 inches of rain overnight or in 30 hours. It's just crazy the amount of damage just the water can do, let alone the wind. But, yeah, I think I lost 15 trees. A lot of people thought, first time around.
A lot of people thought, hey, I had several of my closest, I've met a lot of people. You hear a lot about food family, and that is, you do meet a lot of people that you do take on as your family friends, and I had a lot of people checking on me. People that I thought didn't even like me, you know what I mean? that were checking on me, were concerned, and it was basically, it was very, very good and heartwarming to know that people were concerned for me, and a lot of people thought that, hey, this guy's not gonna be here. People were saying, man, I hate that you're not gonna be able to make it, and I'm like, what people don't realize, a lot of people do, that they were at the award ceremony at WFC, because I told the story there about after the storm had passed through, and me kind of having a spiritual moment there with my grandfather, and me promising him that, yeah, I'm going, and that's a true story. I mean, that's something that I made a promise to him that, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going, and I'm gonna do my best to kick ass, and not taking anything away from anybody. I had a determination, like never before. So I wouldn't. And I say that not to really share my intimate story like that, because I'm not an open book type person when it comes to my personal thing. But I share that just to let people know what this contest means to the competitors that are involved with it. And I know it's just not me that feels this way, or that would have been there no matter what, So it was a hard thing to leave your business behind. Our business didn't suffer significant damage, but our home did. We left our home in shambles, man. I mean, we weren't able to really prepare for it. But my thing is, that's kind of how I operate anyway, and we'll get into that a little bit more after you go. I know we got a little break.
We got about two.
That's kind of how I operate.
We got about 2 minutes, but
kind of a
I want to touch on
a last minute guy where I this is what I do. This is my passion. I feel like you could drop me in a room with a box of ingredients, and I'm gonna make it taste damn good, no matter what you throw at me. So I wasn't really concerned about that, and having the experience of being there years prior to that, I had the confidence that I could pull it off without spending all this time preparing and worrying myself to death over my process and my technique. I felt confident that I wouldn't be wasting my time to show up and really put my best out there. I knew, although I didn't have a dish already prepared for the final round, I never do. I never, every year that we've been, we already know what the infused ingredient's going to be if you make the top 10. But to me, that's kind of arrogant of anybody to assume that they're going to get to that point. But then again, some people may say, well, that's kind of dismissive for you not to be ready for that moment if you get there. But people look at things differently.
Well,
the way I look at things, I'm focusing on what the first two rounds, because I may not even get there. So I don't put a lot of energy into
Hey, Nick,
the final round.
we got about
get there.
a minute left. I want to touch on two real quick points here. So, before you went ahead and got ready and and headed out to the WFC down in Orange Beach, you did a couple things, and one of those was you're a good man. You reached out to Operation Barbecue Relief, and help bring them in and look, they feed an awful lot of people when there's a tragedy. And secondly, look, no time to prepare, life in disorder, everything in shambles. You went anyway. You had your little, you had your moment there with your predecessor, your grandfather. And here's what this is: you won, and that is a testament to your experience and your level of talent as a professional. That's what that says. And the fact that you don't prepare for that final dish, man, I mean, it's not impressive. It's awesome. It's awesome. Hey, stay tuned, folks.
We'll touch into that when we come back. I'll tell you why I don't do that when we come back.
All right. Well, look, we're coming right back. Hey, Chef, we got Chef Nick Rickman on the phone. Hey, stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
We said we would meet in 3 weeks, and he would present to us some of his ideas on funding. So this was a very, very good start, and we'll see. We hope it will go to a constructive conclusion.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying that Democrats and President Trump have agreed on a price tag for infrastructure investment. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says it was a productive meeting with the president this morning, and she's excited about the conversation.
Building infrastructure of America has never been a partisan issue, and we hope to go forward in a very nonpartisan way.
The two sides meeting again in 3 weeks. Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido has taken to the streets in a military uprising. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
Guaido was joined by activist Leopoldo Lopez and a small contingent of heavily armed troops in a bold and risky call for the military to rise up and oust socialist leader Nicolás Maduro. Lopez, who'd been detained since 2014 for leading anti-government protests, called for everyone to come on the streets in solidarity and in peace. As he spoke on a highway overpass, troops loyal to Maduro sporadically fired tear gas as the crowd of a few hundred civilians, some of them brandishing Venezuelan flags, scurried for cover. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Also at townhall.com, President Trump wants to immediately revoke work permits when people are denied asylum and ordered removed from the United States. The president told the Attorney General and his acting Homeland Security Secretary to take additional measures to overhaul the asylum system, which he says is in crisis. Consumer confidence has rebounded this month. The Conference Board's closely watched Consumer Confidence Index rose to 129.2. That's up a full 5 points from the previous reading. On Wall Street now, the Dow ahead 23 points. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's D-I-A, thrive.com.
Dr. Ken Brown here, host of Gut Check Project with my co-host Eric Rieger. Eric, we've been seeing Mojo guys over there and over here at Spoony talk about Atrantil for bloating. I've seen in my practice that Atrantil is a whole lot more than just a bloating product.
Yes, it does a whole lot more than just fix bloating because of the polyphenols that you find in Atrantil.
You're exactly right. The polyphenols are those molecules that we find in the Mediterranean diet. It makes vegetables and fruits very colorful. What are some of the things that these polyphenols polyphenols do, Eric?
These polyphenols can actually stop inflammation. They can help you have more energy. They can help you with anti-aging. And polyphenols are great for athletes.
It sounds like it's going to help a whole lot more people than just bloating. Tell me how everybody should be taking Atrantil.
If you want to dose Atrantil, it's 2 capsules 3 times a day, basically with your meals. But if you aren't bloated and you just want that polyphenol intake every day, 2 to 3 capsules a day will work for you.
Go to lovemytummy.com/Spoony.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All-American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
And welcome back, Spoony listeners. We are now on the third course of the day, the meat of the matter. We are down to the entree. That's right. Yeah, we've been talking like pretty much this has been a pretty much just entree only today. There was no soup and salad. There was no appetizer or hors d'oeuvre. It was just the heart of the dinner. And all thanks to our special guest today, Nick Rickman. Nick is the current reigning world food champion, chef category champion. Ding, ding, ding. And the winner is, they should give you a big belt like Rocky got, when he, wouldn't that be cool? That'd be funny.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
If you had to give it over to the new champion the next year, how painful would that be? Like, Miss America, how does she not take that crown off and just smash the new one in the head? Say, no, I'm keeping it.
I love that analogy, but instead of Rocky, I would kind of lean towards maybe Ric Flair,
Oh, that's funny. Yes. I was a huge
maybe be the 13 or 14 time. I don't know how many belts he had, but I always loved watching.
Well, and
funny.
That WF thing, they kind of went hand in hand. So, pretty close to the same acronym. But hey, I want to give a real quick shout out to Walmart. Walmart has done a great job in sponsoring the WFC. I am not a big box retail. Yes, I am not a big box retail shopper. I have a difficult time going into large stores with thousands of selections. I really do. But I'll tell you, after living in Bentonville, which is the home of Sam's and Walmart, and spending some time there, learning the history of Sam Walton, and you know how cool that guy was. That guy drove around in a 1972, I think, long bed Ford pickup truck everywhere he went. I think he had 2 of them, and he always had a dead battery. So no matter where he went, people had to push start his car. That way he got to know you. He knew everybody in town, and everybody tells the same story. Man, his battery was always dead. I remember dead of winter out in front of store number 1. We had to push start his car almost every time he came to visit. And he developed a rapport with people. And he was able to keep that.
That's the epitome of being modest and humble right there. That's a testament to no matter how big you get or what achievements that you accomplish, that is the key to the continuation of that, is remaining humble and staying down to earth.
Absolutely.
I really believe wholeheartedly in that.
So on that note, though, there's another something I wanted to mention here. So you one of your, I love the Wampler's the Wampler's sausage. Is it Wampler Farm, right? Wampler's Farm? Yeah. Dude, yeah. I didn't know they were one of your sponsors till I saw your image today. I was like, what?
Yeah, they were the category sponsor. Yeah, definitely an incredible product. A great family there behind that product, and they're trying to really get that product out there into the retail world. And I really hope it's something that will take traction and people will take notice that it is an incredible product, and we'll start to see more of that.
Well, I mean,
available
they started in 1937 with like $38 worth of building materials. They built that little shed next to a little creek down there, and started a slaughterhouse. Right. And now they still use the same. Of course, it's a much bigger facility, but if you've never tried Wampler's Farm, their sausages. They have some amazing products. You can go to WAMPLERS, wamplersfarm.com. Check them out. Man, good family story, you know, started by senior and junior. And then they brought in a nephew, and they just kind of, they've gone big time, but not big enough. I'd like to see them in more stores. So if you have a chance.
I'd like to see them more out there. They've been out there quite a while, like you said, but I would like to see them, you know, really become a staple. When you walk in the store, you know that you can get that product no matter where you go. I would really like to see it get to that level.
They actually have a good sale going on right now. If you use the code, if you go to wamplersfarm.com and you order, I think if you use the discount code Fiesta, you get 20% off all the mild and hot taco meats and chorizos through May 5th, which you would do. So you go to mile. Oh, I didn't put the two together, but that makes sense now.
And it goes really good with Challenge Butter as well. I love Challenge Butter. They've been another incredible sponsor, and they're kind of just not really particularly chef category, but they pretty much encompass the whole field at WFC, and they have been ever since we've been there. And that's another incredible sponsor, Challenge Butter. I mean, that's great butter, and they're a great sponsor. There's a lot of great sponsors. I hate to mention just one or two, but there's a lot of great ones. But those are definitely a couple of top tier ones. And yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So in the chef category.
I got 3 or 4 things I really want to get to, but I have a question. This is just a personal question. Okay. I hate the half sticks of butter in the grocery store. Just stop doing it, folks. No one needs a damn half stick of butter. If you need a half stick of butter, eat more butter. Okay? Your butter dish is a full stick of butter. Well, you know what? Actually, now I think about that, you know, because you get down to halfway, you know you need another stick of butter in there. You can't really fit it in because half of it's still there. So, you know what? That might be bad. For that reason alone, it might not be bad. But I hate having to keep unwrapping stuff. I'd rather get the big 1-pound blocks that we get as chefs. But you know what I really miss?
Yeah, the solids, man. That's where it's at.
Well, you know, no, I really miss the big 40-pound block we used to get. Remember the one big 40-pound block that used to come in?
Right.
I can't. It's hard to find anymore.
I don't have enough refrigeration space to store stuff quite that big, but yeah, definitely. I mean, bulk is where it's at. Nobody wants to unpeel a bunch of wrappers when you're taking heat and you're in the weeds, man. Nobody wants to go unpeeling wrappers and stuff.
Well, we used to.
That's like a big.
That's
like a big undoing.
Yeah, I used to work at a big seafood house out on Coronado Island called Pioe's, and we would clarify, at least 20 pounds of butter a day. And, you know, unwrapping the blocks was just not going to happen. So we just always bought the big 40-pound. It's like a 14-inch by 14-inch by 14-inch block, maybe a little bigger than that. And we just unwrap it and put it on a sheet pan in the refrigerator, and then just keep the plastic insert over it and throw the box away. But I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can still get it in big quantities like that. I'm not sure if it's 45s or 40s or 25.
They're big.
I think 25, but yeah.
Yeah,
you can definitely get that.
Yeah, not too many restaurants use that anymore. You know, we've kind of scaled back on the butter thing.
It's not practical in this day and time.
Well, we lost Julia Child. Our butter advocate is gone.
Yeah, I used to watch her. I used to love watching Justin Wilson. I used to love that guy, even though he was making gumbo over and over. But I used to love hearing him talk and explain. And
do you know his story?
Saturday morning.
Do you know his story? He was a salesman. Yeah. He was a very successful salesman, and he loved cooking. And if you know that whole, his whole that kind of, well, I can't say it wasn't real. It wasn't real. I mean, his Cajun dialect was real, right? And he did have family, but he typically did not speak that way. I mean, I don't think there are very few recordings of him where he's not speaking like the Justin.
Yeah, it was embellished a little bit, but it was he was playing the part. You know what I mean?
He was fun to watch, though.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I mean, that was way back before that was the Food Network of our time, was watching those kind of shows. And,
so one of our partners here was an original Food Network producer, right? And they had like 2 months to get together 2,000 hours of or something crazy like that of arable content, and they just threw shows together. I remember, you know how Emerald's Bam thing came together. Like, yeah, Emerald would drop the salt and thing go bam, bam.
I remember that. I remember when Emerald emerged. I'm old enough to remember when Emerald emerged on the TV scene.
He was a little rough when he first started out. He was not the Emerald we remember now, but and Florence Henderson, she had cooking in the kitchen with Florence, and Florence Henderson's Country Cooking, and I'm telling you, man, it was not the Food Network you see today, but they've changed the world. If it weren't for Food Network, you and I wouldn't be talking about this right here. We really wouldn't. Which is
definitely, man. Food Network has been an incredible tool for what we do, and Food Network has definitely been a great thing, and as well as other shows, the Cooking Channel and a lot of the other channels that carry stuff like Destination Channel. Everybody's kind of getting on board, and that's one thing that Mike's building with the World Food Championship. That's incredible. I know. Great things aren't built overnight, and he's being so methodical about this, and he's inching forward, and every year, just like this year, you've got he's brought on board all these great judges, for the final round, and the restaurateurs there, and what he's been able to do in New Orleans. We'll touch on. I know what you're wanting to talk about, the big prize, not the $100,000.
Yeah,
that goes along with this.
I do, but I really want to talk about your grandfather first, because you talked about your moment with your grandfather. So you had.
And I'm not going to be emotional. I
okay.
I took up when I talked about that moment with the hurricane deal, but I'm not going to do that with this. Yeah, and I'll give you some insight with my grandfather. I mean, he came to the United States in the 1920s, and he came in via Ellis Island, where he worked at the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan, and he worked as a dishwasher, even though he loved cooking and was a cook. But that's, you have to start at the bottom, and he had a couple of cousins that were already down in the Cumberland Gap region around Kentucky, Tennessee. So he moved down to Pineville, Kentucky, and worked with his cousins there, and that's where he met my grandmother. And they moved on to Atlanta and got married, and he kind of fell in love with a little area outside of Atlanta there. It's called Rome, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And he opened up he was truly one of the pioneers of this Greek diner movement that we know today. I mean, he was one of the old school guys that really, in a time where social media, like me, even with all my accomplishments and the tools and the power of social media, this guy was more of an icon than what I am in this small town here. I mean, he was, an incredible restaurateur, and he opened up a restaurant called the Dutch Mill. It was a little bit, about a few miles south of Rome. And then he went on into the town of Rome to open up Tony's Steakhouse and Seafood.
And that was one of the first family steakhouses, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the absolute first family steakhouses in the South, and that was, he had people that would come from Chattanooga, Birmingham, cross state lines and drive for hours to come, and he made a salad dressing, and I carry a salad dressing that I call Tony salad dressing on my menu, but it's really not his recipe because I don't have his recipe. He uses his grandfather's recipe. It's my rendition of his recipe. It doesn't really represent. It's not a handed down type thing where recipes were handed down. I'm not really a recipe cook anyway, So I didn't. Not that I wouldn't. If I had his recipe, trust me, I would use it for sure. Because people would drive for a long, great distances just to come and eat with him, and he kept a packed house. So that was a true testament to his perseverance, coming here with nothing at all, and building an empire that he did build, and he was well known throughout the southeastern United States, and people crossing state lines to eat with him. That was something that I'm really proud of, and I know that he would have been able to perpetuate that had he lived his life to his a lot longer than what he did. He died at an early age unexpectedly, so that was cut short. And I've also got another uncle that was a pretty good mentor to me that I was able to converse with and talk with, and that's my mother's brother, Johnny Sedaris. He was this guy was an incredible chef that traveled. He traveled around the United States and cooked for a lot of different people, and opened up some great restaurants. He's pretty much his restaurants were in New York, New Jersey corridor up there, but he also worked a lot out of South Florida and other parts of the United States, and he was a well-traveled, well-versed chef, and I remember talking to him on the phone, talking about food, and him talking about he was always talking about his health and stuff like that, and was kind of mentoring me what to expect out of people and things like that, and when he was done talking to you, he would always abruptly hang up the phone and he'd say, "Okay, bye." If he felt the conversation
That's funny.
over with, that was one of the things I remember about him. He would always, if you kind of pause for too long, or after talking to him about something, a certain subject, he was just, "Okay, bye." And that was just him. That was just his way of doing that. And I always would laugh, and I would like call him back and say, "Hold on a minute, for Johnny, I forgot to ask you, how do what about this or what about that?" And
that's really funny.
That he was being rude. That was just his way of doing things. But he was an incredible chef as well. I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him face to face as much because living so far apart. But I did enjoy my talks with him as well, and he's had a significant impact on on my path as well. So I've had a lot of good inspirations and mentors and stuff like that. That you never try to look to emulate someone. I don't think that that you should ever do that 100%. I mean, a lot of people find that compelling to do that, but I think that as a chef, there's always something you can pick up from somebody, even if somebody's to say less talented than you. You can always, you're never too good to learn from somebody else, and that's something that I truly believe in. You can always learn from anybody, no matter if they think you're more talented or you think you are. You can learn from anybody, and it's all about the 10% that you pick up from other people that will combine to build to make you who you are. And I owe a lot to a lot of people for being where I'm at here today. So and I definitely am not dismissive about that for sure. I definitely
I know
take that into account.
It may sound like a Virginia Slim commercial, but you've come a long way, young man. Hey, so all right, before we got 8 minutes left in this segment. Look, you might as well just stay through the next hour, half an hour too, because I have stuff to talk about that's really not pertinent. I really don't. I'm not excited about it because this is fun. But all right, so we talked about chefs. The final table's coming up here. WFC. There's 2,000 events each year that lead into this one. And in each event either leads to a direct golden ticket entry to the final to the WFC Championship, which is this year going to be in October right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, in Dallas actually. And there are 2,000 events that lead into that. Some lead into more larger regional events, and they have and you need to win more than one event to get a golden ticket. That's your entry. Now, I thought about petitioning Mr. Mike McLeod for one golden ticket for Spoony Radio, and then put all the names of the show hosts in, and maybe draw one out and see who gets lucky and who doesn't, and then maybe take some of the other show hosts as sous chefs, so to speak. I'm not sure though. I
don't think anybody would object to that. I think that would be a killer idea, and I don't think anybody would object to that.
It would really be fun. And look, most of the show hosts, except Mark and I, most of the show hosts have been, not most, but a lot of the show hosts have already competed, and some have been very successful in the WFC. But, I mean, that would be fun. But here's the deal. All that aside, this event, May 17th through the 19th, is iconic because Mike has pulled off something that no one is been able to do, influence in any way, shape, or form in over 100 years. And that is that the grand prize winner, yes, the grand champion at this year's final table, their winning dish will go on the menu at Antoine's in New Orleans. And if you don't know what Antoine's Restaurant is, shame on you, number one. And you better hurry the hell up and look in Google really quickly to find out who Antoine's was. If you've ever heard of Oysters Rockefeller, that is the birthplace of Oysters Rockefeller. They still have never released the recipe. It stays within the family, never leaves their hands. Their cold, sweaty hands, even if they're dead. They wait for the next family member to come and pry it out of their fingers. But I'm telling you, this restaurant, the menu has not changed in 100 years. They were established in, 1886, I believe, or 1896? Right. Yeah. And it is one of the most iconic of iconic restaurants. It is a true piece of Americana. And the fact that the winning dish is going to go on their menu, I mean, really, this gives you bragging rights for eternity. Now, I mean, that's almost worth more than $100,000. I know that's almost worth more than the $100,000 because if you, that's a big deal. It's been 100 years since they put a new menu item on. That's a giant thing to accomplish. And Mike McLeod, kudos to you for getting them to somehow agree to this. I'm not sure. You know what? Good job. I was going to say I don't know who you bribed, which I do, but you know what, Mike? Congratulations, because you've worked your butt off to build this organization over the last 8 years. The participants, and especially those that make it through into final table and then can win that challenge, because it's changing this year, right? It's changing this year. The format, you have to cook dishes that are from that region. So Cajun Creole, the local fare that's somewhat native to that area. It's going to be a very interesting competition, and there are three separate dishes, right? Or three separate competitions that culminate in one grand champion. So,
right, 3 dishes to be cooked. Yeah.
So did
you have to cook the eggs Benedict on the first day, and then you do another dish? I think these dishes have already been said. I don't say something.
That's okay. You don't have to say them.
You've already revealed the dishes.
I think someone already has. Yeah.
Cook one day, and then you cook the next day. You'll cook 2. Mm-hmm. Provided you make it to the very final end there. So it's kind of going to be a stepladder type process of elimination there.
Well, let me tell you, they wouldn't have told the participants if they didn't know it was going to get out. So I think it's okay. But so that first day, can I tell you what? As simple of a dish as that is, right? Eggs Benny. There's a lot of finesse that goes into that, and now you got to think about incorporating the local flair with that. That's going to be something I really am looking forward to seeing. There's going to be a lot of creativity, which just knowing the participants, a lot of creativity that's going to go into keeping this dish as authentic as possible, but with the regional influences of the Creole, the Cajun, the seafood, and just the Caribbean influence as well, and then still trying to make it your own dish. That's going to be a pretty interesting thing to see. I wish I was going down to see the event. However, I think Mike has just reserved one seat for radio coverage down there. I'm not going to reveal it. I'll let who was given that information reveal that themselves. I actually didn't ask; they did, and it should be very interesting to get some coverage here on Spoony Radio. And I think it's just the first 2 days, not the final judging. I'm not sure. I think we're not allowed into that, but. We get 2 minutes left here. Really quick, is there anything you had to any skills you needed to brush up, hone a little bit to be tuned up, ready to go, and prepared for this event? Or are you just that good?
Well, it's kind of you want to take this. This is a chance of a lifetime, and what we've achieved is already more than what we could have dreamed of, and touching on the appetizer, the menu. This is what I was going to get to earlier. It's like we talked earlier. Going into competition, I've never prepared for the final dish on the final day, because I feel like all your focus should be on getting there. And I kind of try to, just like this year, give you a prime example. In the final round, and I heard you talk about this with another guest that you had, because I've been listening to your show.
Oh, thank you.
About the weather change. One day it was 80 or 90 degrees, and then on the final day, well, guess what? On the final day, we were in for cold weather, and to win, we're all great cooks. Look at the top 10. Look
I know.
at these people and go check their background. I mean, I'm not going to mention anybody in particular because from 1 through 10, they're incredible. Look at their accomplishments. Any of these people could have won and pulled this off. It was like a drag race to the end. And really, you had to cover all your bases. So you had to take everything into account, and you really had to be analytical in your strategy. And to me, wait until the last minute to come up with that final dish, that's a strategy of mine. And it was going to be cold, so I done a soup. I said, it's going to be cold. It's going to be early in the morning.
That's
These
awesome.
judges aren't going to want nothing way too over the top. They're
All right,
not want nothing.
We're gonna go quick break. Hey, hang on there. One more segment here, Nick.
Okay.
And hey, a couple of shout outs. My brother Gary, you're listening. Thanks for tuning in, man. Love you, brother. I miss you very much, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later. Man, this is going to be exciting stuff. We're going to come back for dessert, the fourth course of the day. We're still talking food, of course, and more than likely the WFC, because we have Nick Rickman, the reigning world champion of the WFC World Food Championship, in the Chef Code Girl. We'll be right back.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @Food Biz Pro.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-218-6473. 800-218-6473. 800-218-6473. That's 800-218-6473.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
Funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone. RADUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boosts your metabolism,
Yes,
so you're
it does.
burning more.
Yeah, it
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. Riduzone.com. RIDUzone.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
And welcome back for the fourth and final course for today's Food Biz Pro Show with Chef Patrick Mosher here on Spoony Radio. And you can find us at Spoony Radio on Facebook or all other social media pages. You can go to Spoony.com. You can listen live there. You can go to iHeartRadio, Spreaker. You can look up my show. Just look up Spoony Radio. Pretty much everybody's on there. So, all right, we have Chef Nick Rickman on the phone. He is the current WFC World Food Championship chef category champion, and he's getting ready to go into final table here. I think the 15th through 17th or 17th through 19th, somewhere in that, actually 17th through 19th, because the NRA shows the 18th through 21st. So, all right. So we just talked about you do not prepare for the final dish, Chef.
Exactly. But with that being said, I wanted to allude to, every competition always demands more out of you. You can't just do the same program, and you can't use the same philosophies and techniques. And going into the final table, this is a totally different animal. And like we just mentioned, now the cat is out of the bag about the appetizer for the final round. This is going on somebody's menu. Not just somebody's menu. This is going on the menu at Antoine's, the oldest Creole restaurant in the United States. existing. So that changes the complexity. That changes the strategy tenfold. So now, guess what? Nick is coming up with a strategy for an appetizer. It's not because he just knows he's going to be in the end, because I don't know that. I mean, you never know that. No matter how good you cook, you're in the company of other people that are preparing as well, and 9 other world champions at that. So I'm not preparing because I'm against 9 other world champions. I'm preparing because it's going on somebody's menu, somebody that hasn't changed their menu in 100 years. So guess what? New strategy, elevated. I mean, this is something that has to be given a lot of contemplation, a lot of thought, and it has to be great. It has to be a great dish. And I'm not going to say anything further because I'm not going to. I don't want to spill over into any kind of strategy that I'm using. But I have to. I'm a humble guy, and I respect all the other competitors, and but I'm not coming here to lose either. I'm coming with the mindset.
I hear you.
To try and win, and not just for the money. Just think about the prestigious honor that would be to have your and you being a chef. I mean, trust me. I mean, this is wow. It's a wow factor, and how Mike was able to pull it off. I mean, this guy is always working. He's always, a lot of people see him, he's traveling here and there, but he's traveling. He's getting stuff done. He's just not traveling to go on vacation, to go golfing. This guy he's as passionate about this organization that he's got as we are about, as the cooks are about our dishes. This is a passion of his, and thank God for it. For him to have built an organization like this that recognizes and gives chefs like me that's in the South. Name me one Michelin star in the southeastern part of the United States. You're not okay? Yeah, there we go. There's not one. Why is there not one? Because they're not going to come over here.
Sorry, the crickets took
what
over.
Does that tell you? Yeah, the crickets. Yeah, there's not one. Now you have James Beard. That's a whole other animal. I'm not going to touch on James Beard. Those great awards as well. But this is the pinnacle, the new pinnacle of winning, of recognizing who the greatest chef is, and who in each individual category at that. Not just one individual great chef, but in their own right, in their own categories. There's nothing else out there that gives you that platform that really, and that's really tangible. I mean, these chefs. You look at the top 10. These guys didn't just, like going on a TV show where you email and you audition for it, and they look at you and you do the Skype interview, and they say, oh, he'll be good for TV. Let's put him on this show or that show, and you go in there and win. That's a great accomplishment for sure. But this is a different animal. The top 10 chefs in the chef category, I mean, these guys had to run a gauntlet to get there. They had to beat champions. They had to be a champion to be there.
So
they're all. That's why when you hear people say food champ, these people have won a championship in their respective area just to be able to be there and compete. And that in itself sets this deal apart from any other deal. You don't have to win anything to have a Michelin inspector come to your restaurant. That's a whole different ball game. You have to have venue. You have to already have money backing you for something like that. You have to be in an incredible place. There's a lot more components that go into something like that versus this. So.
Well, so even a guy like me with a face for radio, I don't have to worry about. I can just show up, and if I win, they still put me in the final event. That'd be awesome because I get turned down all the time. Even Chopped, they didn't even see a video, and they're like, "No, this dude he's not gonna make it. Sorry, it's not gonna work."
That's me. They hear my southern accent. And say, that guy's not. This guy's from the South. He can't put two sentences together. We're not gonna put him on there. I'm a little more articulate.
Yeah, no. So it's interesting you bring that up because I really like that. One of the reasons that I talked to my partner, Doc Thompson, no longer with us, but when I had the idea for Spoony Radio, it was because I got really and nothing. Look, I love the channels that do just food. I really do. I just don't watch them anymore because it's the same. It's not the same thing over and over. It's same type of show repackaged. And for me as a professional, there's very little for me to learn. Now, there's always something to learn. I'm telling you, MasterChef Junior, watching those children and the way that they plate those young individuals, the skills that they have, unbelievable. But let me tell you, they're not all they didn't just pick up a knife and they've been, a lot of them are culinarians in their family, but I don't really, I'm not entertained by it very much. And so I tend not to watch food TV, not for several years now, since Ian Hall, I think, was on season 2 of Top Chef. So, and that's 10 or more, probably more than that, years ago. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create an outlet where the average food interested, Joe, whether you're a foodie or you're an avid watcher of those other networks, and the professional alike would get some insight, maybe learn a little bit and have some fun at the, and we'd have some crossover content for everyone. So for those that have never worked in the industry, we give you a peek inside, kind of we open the steak window, so to speak, you cut a hole in the bottom, and I yell at people for doing that all the time. Don't do that. Learn how to cook a damn steak. But we give you a peek inside the industry, and we give you some insight as to what we do and why we do it. And then for those that are out there that maybe have forgotten and lost their passion for why we do it, we have these wonderful interviews with you and the other champions from the WFC, and maybe give them an outlet to reignite their passion and pursue this endeavor, indefinitely. So all that aside, because we talked about the grand prize, the $100,000, the real grand prize, which is the winning dish on the menu at Antoine's, and we've talked about all these other wonderful products. I got a couple questions for you. We're gonna go not rapid fire, but we're gonna just a couple questions because I like to know about you and where your food, not your palate, but just, what your background is. I mean, I grew up eating, my grandfather had a farm. My dad had, we had an acre and a half garden. I remember out there picking pole beans when I was like 4, in the sun in the summertime in upstate New York, or riding the hay, the rake behind the tractor, most of the rest of the summer, even at 5. So, but what is your, one question, what is the one food that you miss from your childhood? Like, is there something that you remember? It's like, man, you can't find it anymore. That family member doesn't make it anymore. Maybe they're not with us. Is there something like that you miss from your youth?
Well, like I said, my Uncle Johnny used to make a rice pudding. That would be one thing. But family, I mean, most of the stuff that I grew up eating, I kind of was between my siblings. I was one that cooked. My older sister, she was in the hospitality industry as well. She worked as a server most of her life growing up, and she didn't cook very much. And so, as far as that goes, I mean, I don't really. There was a Cuban sandwich, and this isn't family. When I lived in Orlando, there's a place I used to go, and they had an incredible Cuban sandwich. And I know that sounds so simple and every day, but it's not. It was kind of like the broth we were talking about with the Oriental people that I used to eat with, and it was kind of something like that. There was a Cuban shop, and this was when I was growing up in Orlando and Kissimmee. It was a time when Disney World was taking off, and I remember seeing the first Walmart being built, and then building a small little amusement park, and then it started instantly becoming a food mecca in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there when that was transpiring and the transition was coming along. And there's a lot of things that I could name, man. There was a lot of stuff down there in a lot of places. So not really nothing from the family that I really miss, because I still cook a lot of stuff that I grew up eating in my childhood. I mean, eating leg of lambs and stuffed tomatoes and stuffed cabbage.
Cabbage rolls, man. Stuffed cabbage.
Right, which is a take on the stuffed grape leaves, but even your hardcore Greeks will agree. Make it with the cabbage. Leave the tough ass grape leaves for something else. Leave those growing on the vines for the grapes. They don't. You know what I mean? But to be authentic, that's what it is. But still, the cabbage is so much better with the same mixture in it and the lemon sauce that goes with it. So
awesome.
Yeah, and I make that kind of stuff. I don't use that kind of stuff in my I don't make it a whole lot in my restaurant. I don't really have any family recipes that I've carried over into that because I like to do new stuff and I like to change stuff up. Some stuff I want to stay on my menu and stuff like that, but I like to change stuff up. So really, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There was a lot of Asian cuisine down there, man. There were so many places that were popping up, and back then, you know, it's kind of in this country, it's become kind of synonymous. Wherever you go, or repetitive, I should say. It's kind of, if you eat in one Chinese place, you've eaten them all. They've all got the same sticky, sweet, fried and dipped in candy sauce type chicken and the green beans and then the lo mein noodles. It's all the same thing. But back then, when Disney was coming along, you had a lot of true artisans that were really showcasing authentic cuisine. I know you hear that a lot. You hear authentic, and a lot of times that's not what you get. Even Mexican. So there's so many places. I remember that Cuban sandwich, but there was some other places that had some incredible stuff too, and it was in the Italian cuisines and in the Asian and even the Mexican cuisine. There was some stuff there, some brown gravies and stuff that, you know, when you go to Mexican restaurants, you know, a lot of times, especially in the Southeast, I mean, you get the same stuff. You get the cheese over it, or you get the fried pepper, you know, the chili relleno, whatever they call that.
Chili rellenos, yeah.
And you get it's just the same thing over and over and over. Everywhere you go, it's like if you eat it one place, you eat it all. And back then, there were just so many places, man, that were doing great stuff. Even the chain Olive Garden back then. I remember the first one of those that went into Central Florida. Back then, they had like an omelet bar.
Yep, I remember that.
Olive Garden actually had breakfast. I believe it was called. I know a guy that actually wrote a lot of the recipes for that company, and it used to be called. I think it was the Green Frog, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that. I think you're right.
A guy named Robert Mullins that I used to work with. He actually helped develop a lot of those recipes, and back then it was very. Not knocking. No, I don't want to knock anybody. I don't want to knock the chain. You know, it is what it is. It's a fast food place. But back then, it was more authentic. I mean, everything was really great. You know, the food was at a different level than what it has become today. It's kind of, you know, as you go on, it becomes a moneymaker, and you kind of dumb things down for the cooks where you can, you know, mass produce this and get it all over the country. So
well, I'll tell you what, Olive Garden's not a moneymaker anymore. So Darden is man.
It's not. But you know what I'm saying.
I know.
To turn that into a Fortune 500 company, you have to dumb things down. You have to pre-make stuff where these guys can open up an envelope and just pour sauce into the microwave, and you know what I mean.
I know. I do.
Because, you know, and that's just a whole other subject.
I know,
yeah, but the original question, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But that Cuban sandwich is one thing that sounds simple, but I just can't replace it. I've had a lot since then. I've had people say they got authentic Cuban bread, but yeah, that was one of the things that I really loved of my childhood.
My mom made.
On that.
No, it's okay. Look, that's what we're here for. Look. You know what you did? You made my job easier than anyone in the history of my interviews because you answered every question and so fully, in a good way. I just kind of sat back. I got to be a fan. I get to sit back for almost 2 hours now. Sit back, be a fan, appreciate your level of skill.
Has it been 2 hours
devotion.
Already?
We got about 13, 14 minutes left. But do you have a favorite? Real quick, do you have a favorite seafood, like a single particular fish or crustacean that you like the best?
Oh man, it would have to be, if it comes down to just one, I would have to say two. It would have to be oysters and scallops.
So if it has to come down to one, I got to say two. That was the best answer to that question.
And right here where we live at, we have the best oysters. I never say, that's one thing, anybody that follows me, that follows my Fusion Craze page, that follows the Salt Block page, I never, ever say I'm the best or come here for the best this or the best that. And anybody can call my hand on it. They can go back into the archives of anything I posted back 7, 8 years when I started all this and see that I've never said, come get the best this or best that. That's one thing that I never I never try to say that I've got the best this or that.
Well,
it's just a pet peeve of mine.
Can I interject on that though? Because if you win this final table event and your recipe or your dish goes up there on Antoine's, you better damn well say, "Come get the best, whatever it is." I'm just saying, because you don't win that and get on that menu for nothing. So it might just be that one dish,
definitely.
but I'm just giving you a hard time. And you're a humble fella. I like that.
I'm just blown away that Mike was able to. I hate to keep going back to that and sound like a broken record, man. But trust me, man, that is you understand it. But the
absolutely,
significance of that is just that is incredible, man. I mean,
there's a couple other things that are going on. I know there's a couple other things going on this year as well that are new, right? He's and I'm sorry to interrupt you. He's they're going to videotape everything, and look, I don't know exactly how the format's going to be, but I think this is going to turn into like a final event. Broadcast. They're going to be post-production, but I think they're going to turn it into, I don't know how long that show will be. I'm hoping it's significantly long enough for us to get some insight into how the things work in the background, but I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I know Mike, I don't know if he's in town this week, but here in Dallas, the Iron Fork event, WFC has now joined with the Iron Fork event. So the winner of that event, I believe, gets a golden ticket right into the event in October right here in Dallas. So that should be pretty interesting. All right. Couple more questions because, inquiring minds want to know, mostly me because I'm nosy and I love to hear people talk about their passion, especially if it's food. What is do you have a single style or a single item that you like to cook? Is there something that's therapeutic or just like you just love the creativity of cooking? Is there anything that you like to cook more than anything else?
Oh man, that's really a tough one. I feel that I'm very versatile. I think I've proven that I'm versatile, and it just depends on what mood I'm in, really. I mean, I like to do, I love grilling. I love to grill stuff, but I also, I like to cook in pans and stuff like that. And that was one of the things growing up. And I know I've mentioned the Roux brothers, and a lot of people don't know who they are, but chefs that are, really, most people know who they are. You know what I mean? But then some people. They think of, when you think of the top chef in the world, the first thing that comes to mind is Gordon Ramsay. And trust me, that guy is a beast. But, they're looking back, one of the things I was going to say, as a kid growing up, I taught myself the technique of deglazing a pan, of cooking stuff, and when stuff sticks. I'd seen other chefs do that, pour wine, and I never understood what the deal was with that. And I kind of, taught myself the reasoning behind that and kind of understood that, at an early age, when stuff sticks to the pan, that's not all bad, put some wine in there.
No, that stuff that's called the fond. It's so fond of the pan it sticks to it. That's the good stuff, man. That's the little bits of caramelized garlic and the little tiny bits of pieces of meat or fish that stick to. That's the flavor.
And then knowing when that's a good thing and when it's not. Some sauces, it's not a good thing to have a fond in it, but some stuff, that's what you want to shoot for and aim for, And some, like I said, some sauces you don't want that. That's the last thing you want is something sticking and then it becoming having that kind of an offensive flavor to it, which. So knowing the difference of when to do that and when not to do that came later in life, through a lot of cooking,
So I'm gonna tell you my answer to the question, which was, what's your favorite thing to cook? And I'm stealing this from a guest that was on Trey's Chat on Live here a couple weeks ago. He's the chef at Gas Monkey, right here in Dallas, and he had the most brilliant. He goes, whatever I'm cooking right now, that's my favorite thing to cook. And I think if
that's
I mean, because if you don't have that singular which is what you said, whatever, it's not a single item. It's whatever you're cooking right now because it deserves all your love and attention. And I thought that was a pretty cool answer from him.
I just like to whatever I'm doing, I like to give it the best technique possible. To let the ingredients shine. I don't like to over season stuff. But then I'm not really what would be. A Michelin star type of chef where it's really more generic and really more just about the ingredients and presentation and really, letting it come through in more of a natural light. I believe in elevating, but I don't believe in overdoing something where you overshadow the ingredients. So whatever I'm cooking, I try to make sure that I honor that protein or vegetable or whatever it is, but I want to put my own signature on it where it's a little bit quite special than and different than what you may have experienced it through someone else's kitchen, and that's what. And it's a real razor sharp line that you ride when you do that.
Absolutely.
To get everybody in the middle of the road, people that really like eccentric flavor and flair and heat. You kind of got to bring both sides together in the middle of the road. It's kind of got to be a merger there, and that's the balancing act that's tough, but I love, and that's what I live for, is that balancing act, that pushing the envelope as far as I can, but not to overshadow the components that I'm using, and let those shine and come through in the dish where you can really enjoy those for what they are.
Love it. Hey, I got 2 more quick questions for you. 2 more. All right. 2 more.
Okay.
This one's easy, and you may not have an answer for it. Is there any kind of guilty pleasure, like Oreo cookies or something that you're like, all right, nobody's looking, I can eat this?
Yeah, Reese Cups, man. Reese Cups.
So you remember the Reese
Cups, man? That's an easy one. That was almost like a boomerang reaction right there, man. That's like bounce right back.
You didn't hesitate. You didn't hesitate.
That was the easiest question you asked me, man.
Hey, man, I try to throw them big, soft softballs as big as I can, and once in a while, even I get it right. But it's funny. You remember when we were kids? They came as singles, and they had that piece of paper in the bottom, that cardboard thing, and always had like you could mail it in for something.
And I'm a connoisseur of these things, and I know, not all, even Reese's, they're not all created equal. Sometimes you get those things and they're dry and chalky, and then sometimes you get them and they're moist. They've got that saltiness in them, the freshness. So, I've kind of, when I eat those things now, I don't really get the cups a lot anymore, because I found out sometimes they change their packaging over the year, and they've had a lot of inconsistency where sometimes they're a little drier. So I try to get the seasonal ones where they got the little eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where I used to buy it all the way around and stay in the middle for last.
So it's exactly. I think everybody used to do that. So you talk about they change the packaging and stuff. You know what really pisses me off about all that stuff is shrinkflation, where they keep the price the same, but they reduce the size of the item inside. Like the Snickers bar is now 20% lighter than it used to be 5, 7, 10 years ago. Same price, 20% less. I mean, look, I understand you got to make a buck,
right?
But.
Yeah, and Haagen-Dazs does it. That was always my favorite ice cream come up, and then they started doing that. It's still a great price.
I know.
Instead of going up on price with everybody else, just go up on price. Keep the
exactly
delivery of what you're putting out the same. I would rather go up and pay more, but I don't have to really worry about ice cream. I've got the greatest creamery right next door to my restaurant.
Which one's that? Which one's that?
Craft Creamery. It's called Southern Craft Creamery.
Southern Craft Creamery. I'm gonna.
It's a growing business, and they are great. I don't even have to worry. They're right out my back alley. When I go take the garbage out, I kind of look at them, and I turn around. I'm like, don't look there. I kind of try not to look at them, because I had to walk by it every day, and I have to really just show a lot of discipline not to go in there.
That's funny.
It's so easily accessible.
That's fun. All right, I'm going to put a link up on Spoony Radio's Facebook page. Okay, real quick. We got 3 minutes left. Is there? There was one other question I had. What was I going to ask you? Oh, pet peeve in a restaurant. So I told you what mine is. Bring the water glass to the table, and I'll show you. There's a line. There's an imaginary line in the middle of the glass. The bottom half is mine, or is yours. The top half is mine only. You never touch halfway above, half the top half. Never touch it. Don't put your hand on the top of my glass. I don't care how long your fingers are. Don't go anywhere near the top of the glass. Just don't do it. If you do, bring me another one. Don't even look at me. Just bring me a new one. I love you. You can still keep your job. I'm not going to complain. Bring me another damn glass of water. You touched where my mouth goes. And trust me, I know where your hands have been. I've been in the kitchen 32 years. I know what you've been doing. So what is your one pet peeve? And I try to go out and eat. I don't judge other restaurants. I don't. I just go out. I dine. Is it a good value for the money? Was the service okay? I quit right there.
Yeah. I've got several, but I'm not going to cover them all. But I'll give you a couple of big things I look for. One thing I look for is cleanliness in the bathroom. But as far as the pet peeve goes, and I'm a back of the house guy, but I'm also engaged to what goes on in the front of the house in my restaurant. Me and my wife travel around, and we go there not to really pick up stuff on people's, as far as what people are serving to get ideas and stuff like that. We go to analyze the overall experience. And one of my pet peeves is when a diner comes into a restaurant, and this is for the servers out there that are listening, this is something you need to be on the same page with and on point with. We
got 1 minute left. We got a minute and 20 left. Minute and 20.
When you take a patron their food out to the table, ask them if they need anything else, and then watch them, and then do that 1 minute turnaround, because once they engage their food, they're probably going to need something else instead of waiting 20 minutes when everybody else is eating. So that's one of my pet peeves is servers coming back. I still tip them well if they don't, but I like to see that aspect of that. That's one of my.
It lets you know how good the training systems are. Yeah.
Cleanliness is the biggest thing. If I go in a restaurant and it's not clean, I don't want to eat there. I don't care how good the food is. Cleanliness is my biggest pet peeve.
I'm with you. I had a terrible experience at a restaurant here in the DFW area, and they have several locations. But I went into the bathroom and there was no so the soap dispenser wasn't there, and I'm like, how am I supposed to wash my hands? They're like, oh well, whatever. No, I'm like, no, take the one out of the kitchen, pull it off the wall, and put it in here, would you please? At least one of them out of the kitchen. Now you have two back there because I can see them. But I was like, I'm like, no, dude, I got to wash my hands. Plus, your employees are coming here not washing their hands. That's not cool. Anyway, all right, enough about that stuff. Nick Rickman, good luck at the Final Table event here coming up in May. Thanks for gracing us with your presence, your professionalism, and your humble personality. I wish you and Carrie the best of luck, and I hope you'll be on soon. I got to wrap it up. I'd love to open up the mic. You can call in anytime, man. You got my number, okay?
Okay.
All right,
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Wish you all the best of luck soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. Hey, folks, again, check out the WFC events coming up. Just follow them. World Food Championships on Facebook. Check it out. You can go to their page, worldfoodchampionship.com. All right. Thank you very much. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. Ciao for now. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.